Well, thank you everybody so much for sticking around after the film Miguelito. My name is Ernie Quiroz, head programmer here at Cine Las Americas. Hope you enjoyed the film. I'm sure you enjoyed the film. And I am proud and honored to welcome the director of the film, Samuel Zubrycki. Sam, how are you?
Great, Annie. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having Miguelito at the festival.
For sure, for sure. I know this is your first film, your directorial film, and I also know that you're a musician. So this sort of combines the sort of two loves of yours of both filmmaking and music. So can you talk? We saw a little bit in the film of how you came to discover Miguelito, his music. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I guess I first fell in love with this music through my trumpet playing. So I started, my sort of early life out as a trumpet player, and found myself, fell in love with salsa and Latin American music via the trumpet. And then I went traveling to Colombia with a good friend, and I started collecting records and came to Cali, and I just discovered Miguelito's record sort of organically as the film sort of shows. Uh, there is such a strong passion for collecting music and having knowledge of a history of salsa and Latin American music in Colombia, in Cali. And I just really fell in love with these guys and the whole story. And it really just happened like that. It was something that I found Miguelito, I mean, the cover and the record, the story, everything sort of aligned in a way that I thought it was going to be a really amazing journey and an amazing story that would really capture what I thought would take me on a great discovery of this music.
What time are we talking about? How many years ago? When was this on the
So
trip?
I first went to Colombia in, I believe it was 2012 or 13 for the first time, about 2013. And it was about a month, it wasn't very long. It was just sort of like it was like a time capsule, but it was enough to discover this record and see the scene. And then it just sort of led me on this trip,
Yeah.
trying to track down all these guys like Harvey and so forth, which just was sort of coming from Sydney, it was a bit of a globe-trotting sort of adventure for the next sort of 5 years or so.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Talk about that. About sort of being having an outsider perspective, if you will, from the music, from the culture. Did that give you? Was it harder? Was it easier? Being a quote unquote outsider.
I think there are pros and cons from either side of the spectrum. I think what was great, like a lot of things that in the culture that was obviously sort of quite obvious and quite sort of embedded within the surroundings was still foreign to me. So I was really curious, and I wasn't afraid to ask questions that might have been a bit ignorant or a bit obvious. And so in the whole process, I actually found that really liberating, and I found that I was able to get a lot of genuine responses from all my subjects and characters. I think that we all came together really via our love for the music and the art, and it wasn't the outsider thing didn't really. I mean, it was sure there was a sort of a roots from a different place, but we all had this connection with music. So we could talk about music in a way that I didn't. I mean, I wasn't an outsider, but then there were other things that I was, and so it was a real. I think it was a real blessing. Like I said, it really helped me point the camera and see a lens asking really obvious things maybe to a lot of people, but it would get really genuine responses. And I
Yeah, and
think
I think
that's
it helps, people that maybe don't know about the music or don't know about the culture. It's a way, um, you're sort of a proxy for them that are watching
Absolutely,
the film.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a big part of the audience is from, I sort of really had the intention that I was going to cross over this film to an audience that maybe wasn't so naturally accustomed to this music or this culture, and that we could try and, you know, really open up the doors.
Yeah, talk about that. I mean, pre-pandemic, because this film is, I'm not sure exactly when it was released, but you were lucky enough to have some screenings before the pandemic,
Yes.
at festivals and with actual people in a theater. Talk a little bit about the response, and then all over the globe, not just in Latin America, but you've been lucky enough to play in other
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So the film premiered in Cartagena at the Fichi Festival in early 2019, and then it traveled around to Raindance in London, Margaret Mead in New York, and and many other festivals, and the response has been wonderful. You know, of course, all the people. It's been interesting in lots of different ways, but the real diehard Miguelito fans who just absolutely love it, and were the first ones to see it. Luckily enough, all across to Australians who have never heard salsa, or an audience that has no idea about this culture, and also a lot of the native Puerto Rican audience who also, I got a lot of messages from Puerto Ricans, which I found really interesting, saying that I'm Borinquen, and I have no idea about Miguelito, and I love it. So it's been really diverse, and it's been really wonderful. That I think just giving Miguelito, the the focus that he's deserved for all
Mhm.
these years, and to have that response, and that people now recognize him as an artist, and recognize his music, has been really wonderful.
Yeah, I think that speaks to the universality of not just obviously of music in general, but of Miguelito, of that he can sort of transcend cultures and people from all over the world.
Yeah, it's been a really, really wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about again, sort of being, quote unquote, an outsider, and then coming to Miguelito's family. Was there any hesitancy on their part of maybe they felt taken advantage before with Harvey, and now here comes this other, here comes this filmmaker from Australia. They don't. How hard was it to connect with them and sort of get them to open up?
Well, I mean, it was almost another film in itself. I mean, that journey, which within the film is sort of compressed to a couple of minutes of this journey to make contact and find them, was really a huge, 6 month to a year process. Understandably, there was a lot of skepticism about a Australian filmmaker who's interested in, their relative. Uh, and it was really a relationship that took a lot of time, and a lot of care, and a lot of trust. Uh, and I really had to earn it. Like
Mhm.
going down. I think they realized when I came down to Puerto Rico, and we all met and we talked, that I was genuine, and that I didn't have really any malice intentions, and that I really wanted to uh, you know, bring Miguelito to life, and show his talent to the world. And but yeah, look, understandably, it was very, very difficult, to gain that trust, and I'd never really been through that process before. But that's how it goes.
Yeah, and now and they've seen the film. So what do they think about the film? I mean, obviously they must be happy that everything that has come from the film. What their response
Absolutely,
been like? Yeah.
absolutely. We had I remember a very early screening in the Caserio, um, where Miguelito's family live, and all these people came out, and there was a big presentation, and just so happy, and proud of their brother, for what he achieved, and what he's made, and yeah, they're really, really happy.
Yeah. Now talk about Harvey.
Well, yeah,
Harvey's seen the film.
yeah. Harvey probably doesn't see it eye to eye, unfortunately. I think it's for me. I still find it a little unfortunate, but I think in time he will realize, the situation. Look, very difficult. I can imagine in his vision about how he's being viewed, and it must be incredibly challenging. I have so much respect and love for Harvey as a musician, producer, Grammy two-timer, and as a friend. So yeah, it was. He doesn't completely agree with my vision and my observation of the situation. But that's sort of how it goes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't take any sides. Chose very strongly that I was going to be neutral about this. Of course, I want to make everyone look as good as possible and see the good in everyone. And I think when a lot of people, when they see the film, and obviously they have seen the film now, that Harvey's actually, I think everything he said is really justified.
Hmm.
But you know,
Yeah, I think no, I think you do a wonderful job of having a balanced approach. I think
yeah,
there's uh what happened is unfortunate, but I don't think there's any one person to blame, and you're not blaming anybody. I think the music business is a tough business. You know that firsthand.
yeah,
And I think Harvey, the feeling I get is that Harvey went into this with the best of intentions, and I think he did his best, and
yeah.
um, you know,
That's life almost.
yeah,
Like I feel, coming out of it that when you know, there were lots of thoughts about how you'd be feeling at the end of the film. Like that if there was going to be some sort of side that was taken about the situation. But I felt like it really needed to end openly and in a sort of thoughtful way that, this is the reality of life. This is the reality of the situation. It's, you know, sort of, it's a big mess, but that's just how it goes, and
yeah,
that's life.
yeah. I think you could have demonized Harvey, and maybe he feels like you did, but I don't think
Yeah.
you did. But I think you could have easily put the blame on him of saying, "Oh, he took advantage of this naive, family. Maybe there was a language barrier or something," but you didn't go that route.
No, no, I don't think he did that at all. I think he's all about the music. He's all
Yeah,
about Harvey's a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve and loves the music so much,
sure.
and I feel like there's that scene in the car when we're in Puerto Rico and he arrives and you just see him just bouncing around, loving
Yeah,
the music and just loving being in Puerto Rico. You're just like, yes, this guy is all about the passion of salsa.
yeah.
He's
No, I think
like an outsider like me, but he is salsa.
for sure, for sure. So talk about the music. I think when we last talked, there was the rights to the Miguelito's music is it's pretty complex as music rights often are, and any chance or has this music been reissued, and where does his family stand financially, potentially profiting from a re-release?
Well, look, Miguelito, the LP, I believe, went through. It was sold twice off after Harvey sold his company Coco Records. I believe that the rights went on to two different owners, and we've been in the process of trying to re-release the LP on vinyl. That's still up in the air. It's really it's a bit of a complicated issue just to do with because I don't own the rights and I'm sort of in discussion with Miguelito's family, but also Harvey has to be involved, and so they have to still come to some sort of agreement, the two of them, about how it's going to come to go forward. So touch wood, it's gonna get a release, but you know it's dependent on factors outside of my my hands.
Sure. And
That's
then I'm sure the whole world shutting down probably didn't help things.
no, it didn't help things. But look, I know many people who would love to have an LP of Cantora Borinquen, and so hopefully, in the not too near distant future, it'll be released.
Okay. So yeah, so talk about if people want to stay up to date and maybe potentially, you know, be the first ones to buy the album. How do they stay up to date on both the movie, the music,
Yeah,
other things you're working on?
yeah. Miguelitofilm.com is the website, and the socials is Miguelito Film on both Instagram and on Facebook. That's probably the best way to stay up to date. And there's a newsletter as well if you feel like subscribing. And yeah, hopefully all these things will be released very shortly. And also on the website, we've got lots of bonus material, lots of extra videos of all the musicians and
Oh,
the stuff that was shot during the production. You know, I shot so much material, so there's all little juicy bits of the band and so forth. So
oh, very cool. And then maybe I think last time we talked, you were working on a documentary on record collecting, on the record collectors, the gentleman you had met. How?
yes, yes. At the beginning of Miguelito, as you notice, there's a lot of collectors in Cali, known as the melómanos, also like about audiophiles. And so the next film I've been working on is about these guys and this culture, how Cali, the capital de la salsa, how the music came to the city, and how these collectors almost central cultural figures to the city.
Yeah. And hopefully COVID hasn't impacted that film too much. Hopefully we can get that. Who knows? Maybe that'll be at the festival next year, and we could have you in person in Austin. I'm sure I know a couple record collectors in Austin.
Oh yeah, there's some great ones. Yeah.
Yeah. How about your music? I know that you're also a musician. I can see some instruments behind there. Any plans to release an album, or have you released anything yet?
No, no. Well, I've got a radio show here in Sydney. It's called FBI Radio and Bare Necessities. I'm sorry, and yeah, we have a weekly show every week and play lots of different music, a lot of salsa and so forth. But yeah, as far as the music side and recording an album, it's sort of focused more on music at the moment, on film at the
On
moment.
film? Yeah.
Yeah, really driving myself towards the next feature, which is not far off.
Well, that's great that you have a way to have your two passions overlap in these wonderful music documentaries. And certainly the first one that you made is great. So looking forward to what you have
Thank
next.
you.
So
Oh wait, absolutely.
well, thank you so much for this brief chat, and thank you again for sharing this film with us. And hopefully people stay up to date on both the music and the film. So thank you again.
Okay, thanks, Danny.